When I was little, my father was famous. He was the greatest samurai in the empire. He cut off the heads of 131 lords.
Hey everybody, Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien here. Thanks for stopping by. In about 5 hours, the trip to Antarctica will truly begin. I'm going to be giving you videos on a regular so to keep you updated. But, you know, not everyone likes these videos. So someone named You Think thought he could come on my comments and insult me and put up a video taking snippets of me and screwing up the context to make a point supporting Flat Earth. Normally, I wouldn't pay any attention to this, but in this case, he's provided a claim about the final experiment that is testable along with showing his own ignorance. Now, You Think isn't stupid. He's put together some cheap 3D graphics and some decent arguments, but in classic fashion, he's so blinded by his bias that he can't see his own errors. So, the first thing he criticizes me for is this statement of mine. Since in the final experiment, we'll be touching down in Union Glacier in Antarctica, and within 12 to 18 hours, the globe denier claim that a 24-hour sun does not exist will be destroyed. Immediately cutting and saying, seeing a midnight sun would not be enough to prove the globe.
So that's part of the illusion, right? The globe fails on many levels. So if they produce a midnight sun, does it actually resolve all the problems in the box?
And right off the bat, we can see he's too focused on his own bias, because I obviously did not say that it would prove the globe. I said it would prove the claim that there is no 24-hour sun to be false. That's all I said. The globe denier claim that a 24-hour sun does not exist will be destroyed. But he launches the rest of his video calling me a dumbass because no, we need to see these other proofs before we prove the globe. Okay, let's look at these other proofs he says we need. He says there needs to be evidence of axis rotation and motion. As an example, he shows this. This is great, and I agree. So all the final experiment people need to do is have more than one camera set up for 24 hours, and during the 24-hour recording session, have one of the camera setups going from left to right across the field of view. I think it's left to right, it might be right to left. Has to cross the field of view. Actually, no, it can be done with one camera because the trees or a building that don't move on its own can cross the field of view. I like this. I want to see this from the final experiment. Like I said, this You Think guy isn't stupid. But then he screws it up by continuing. He says, here's an example of what we would see with a non-rotating Earth. And he shows this model where the ball circles the sky above two stationary cameras and says, over 12 hours, one cannot cross in front of the other. And as a real-world example, he shows this Fairbanks, Alaska footage claiming over 12 hours. You can see that it's not possible for any stationary object to cross the field of view. Now, the camera is not tracking the sun, so that's a major flaw. It's just like a wide-angle lens. But the other major flaw I will come back to later. His second bit of required evidence is just asking why a special trip is needed. That's not a standard of evidence, buddy. Why a trip is necessary is a question that should be asked of the globe-denying crowd. There is plenty of evidence of the 24-hour sun, yet globe deniers refuse to believe it exists, so I guess that's why they have to take a special trip. For a third bit of evidence, he requires the perspective to match expectations from multiple spots on Earth, which, again, I wholly agree with, and the observations in Antarctica will show. Again, this understanding of what observations should be shows that You Think is not wholly stupid. The problem this globe denier has is the example he tries to, once again, use to dispute the observations. He tries again to use this Fairbanks, Alaska video to say the 12-hour view of the sun that's in that video doesn't fit with the expectations. So here's the problem with his use of that video for the first bit of evidence and the third one. This video is not of 12 hours of sunlight in Fairbanks. If this dude had taken the time to so much as scroll down another inch on the page, he would see that the time elapsed in the video is only 6 hours. Dude, all your criticism falls apart when the evidence you try to use against the globe isn't what you think it is and supports the globe. This type of thing is why I say you don't have to be stupid to be a globe denier. Sometimes your bias is just so powerful that you are unable to see clearly. Because I honestly think if this dude saw clearly, he wouldn't have tried to pass this off as evidence. But he did bring up some good points that I think are things that should be looked for in the observations that come out of the final experiment. Yes, he tries to be snarky and insulting because he doesn't know he's making crucial errors and thinks he can take a victory lap, but good points are made that show he's not wholly stupid. A link to his video is in the description. Let's keep his points in mind so he and globe deniers like him are made aware of the reality that they have to deal with. Oh, wait, there is one more bit of so-called evidence he brought up in his video, number 4. He took issue with the idea of using geotagged and timestamped images and videos as evidence. Not because he thinks it's possible to alter the data, which is an understandable fear, but because, in his words, to timestamp the images, the Earth cannot be moving. He goes on, claiming that, especially at the South Pole, the final experiment is not at the South Pole, you cannot timestamp images because as the Earth rotates, the time always changes. Nope. I take it back. He's just dumb.
That's my job! That's what I do! I don't lose! I win! Is there no one on this planet to even challenge me?
Maybe you came by to congratulate me on last night's victory.